one of hip-hop's most protective fathers, T, and his daughter, Deja Harris, are embroiled in a big fight that has left the internet in full shock. 50 Cent, the industry's most notorious stirrer, is officially aware of this. As everyone is aware, Tip goes above and above in his role as a girl father, regularly sparking contentious national conversations about privacy and parenting boundaries. But the latest accusations from the Harris family have made the situation worse than anyone could have predicted. When 50 Cent finds out about a situation this chaotic, he doesn't just watch. With his well-known trolling and harsh comments, he dives headfirst into the chaos. This is no longer just a small family argument. In this high-stakes public conflict, everyone is compelled to choose a side. As the stories continue to grow, everyone is wondering if T can really defend his reputation this time, or if 50 Cent's severe response is the final straw that will ruin the King of the South's reputation. We are analyzing every facet of the allegations, the hidden implications in the social media posts, and the exact moment the billionaire from Gannett decided to remark and change the narrative forever. As we explore how a father-daughter relationship became the center of a global media frenzy that is currently dominating every timeline in news feed in the entertainment business. Stay tuned as we unravel the layers of this explosive family drama. Given how swiftly the digital landscape is evolving, the fallout from these accusations has the potential to ruin a reputation that has been built over decades. 50 Cent is making sure that nothing is missed as the evidence mounts. From precise Twitter subliminals to deleted Instagram tales, whether you are a follower of the 50 Cent school of chaos or a lover of the Atlanta great, this story has reached a breaking point that is hard to ignore. Tensions began to escalate when social media users saw a series of cryptic comments and deleted posts that implied a significant rift was developing between T and Deja. Many conjectured that the old wounds from earlier public crises had never completely healed, although the Harris family has been dealing with the difficulties of stardom for many years. The latest revelations indicate a level of control and surveillance that many fans find quite unsettling in the modern era. When the rumors first appeared on blogs, most people expected a traditional PR statement or a quiet resolution behind closed doors. But when 50 Cent decided to use his massive platform to highlight how absurd the claims were, everything quickly altered. 50, who is renowned for his ability to make any celebrity issue go viral, didn't hold back and uploaded a lot of responses that questioned T's parenting methods as well as mocked the dramatic King of the South persona that Tip had spent decades cultivating. Millions of admirers watched intently to see how the Atlanta legend would respond to the teasing from the New York rapper, and 50 Cent's swift intervention served as a trigger, turning a private family matter into a public spectacle. The atmosphere became even more heated as industry insiders began to reveal information about the atmosphere inside the Harris residence, describing a situation where the line between possession and protection had become dangerously blurred. According to some close to the family, the accusations began to harm T's reputation and put him in a defensive position that he rarely finds himself in. As the narrative developed from light gossip to a serious discussion about respect and autonomy, 50 Cent's involvement added a comical cruelty to the situation by using memes and old videos to remind the world of T's past controversial remarks about his daughter's private life, making it nearly hard for the public to move on from the subject. Soon, there were a lot of debates on the internet, with most people agreeing with 50 Cent that the boundaries had long before been passed, and others defending T's right to parent in any way he sees fit. The details of the new accusations began to emerge, depicting a home governed by strict regulations that many felt were outdated and harmful to a young woman's rise to prominence. This first surge of indignation was only the start. Every silence from T was interpreted as an admission of guilt, while every post from Deja was examined for hidden messages. As a result, there was a pressure cooker atmosphere that would explode the moment a frontal confrontation occurred. 50 Cent successfully assumed the position of unofficial narrator of the Harris family's most difficult public moment to date by engaging with both fans and critics. There were multiple incidents involved. It had to do with a tendency and behavior that had finally reached a breaking point. When everyone was watching, there was nowhere left for anyone involved to hide from the harsh light of public opinion. The conversation quickly moved from the specifics of the current claim to a broader analysis of how children of celebrities struggle to express themselves when their parents are extremely egotistical and self-important. Critics pointed out that T.I.'s attitudes seemed to prioritize power above his children's mental health. Even though he has always supported family values and the idea of leaving a legacy, 50 Cent reiterated this position in his increasingly frequent social media posts. The Gunnet chief capitalized on his supporters' interest by asking rhetorical questions that caused them to reevaluate their allegiance for the King of the South, all the while maintaining a tone that balanced comedy and genuine disbelief. These two have had bad experiences with one another in the past, but since it was so personal, this disagreement felt far more significant than a normal rap feud. Over the course of the days, additional speculation and 50 Cent comments filled the hole left by the Harris camp's absence of an official denial, creating a feedback loop that kept the story alive on all major entertainment platforms. Fans began watching their reality family shows' earlier episodes, looking for signs of the dispute, which was now being referred to as a severe crisis, and the results simply fueled the fires. The image of the perfect, harmonious family proved to be a facade that was quickly crumbling under the pressure of these new revelations. Many were worried about how Deja was handling the unexpected increase in attention to her personal life, especially when 50 Cent brought her father's alleged actions to such a sharp light. Another major topic of conversation was the psychological effect on Deja. Despite the humor 50 brought to the table, the public's appetite for information was insatiable, and the underlying issue was serious. Every step T took on social media was met with questions about his daughter, making it difficult for him to promote any of his other business ventures or musical pursuits. The story had been taken over, and for the first time in his career, the confident and articulate T seemed at a loss for words as he attempted to reclaim the narrative, without escalating the situation. With a persistent vigor that only he can maintain, 50 Cent kept making light of the situation, and this silence was seen as a success. 50 was teaching the industry a masterclass in story management by leveraging the internet to quickly damage a rival's reputation, all the while claiming that he was only reacting to the news, just like everyone else. The lines between gossip, humor, and genuine concern were blurred, creating a uniquely modern drama that is only achievable in today's hyper-connected world. When we look more closely at the chronology of events, we can see that the strain had been building for months, if not years, and all it took was a tiny spark to set off a domino effect that would eventually consume the most prominent members of the culture. The participants were well known, the stakes were high, and the outcome was still uncertain as the world prepared for the next stage of this unfolding tale. The pressure reached an all-time high, and internet searches for the family's history skyrocketed when further specific allegations surfaced regarding the scope of T.I.'s alleged surveillance of his daughter's daily activities and social connections. These claims implied that the surveillance went well beyond what had previously been publicly recognized. They included digital tracking and a rigorous screening process for anyone hoping to enter her inner circle, which many considered as an unusual overreach of parental authority. 50 Cent exploited the circumstance to step up his criticism, suggesting that such behavior was more a sign of deep-rooted fear than genuine care for a child's well-being. He began comparing T's behavior in real life to his persona on film, mocking the idea that a man who built his profession on ideas of independence and hard work should be so restrictive within his own four walls. This critique resonated with a large segment of the audience, who thought that T's alleged actions were just making the discrimination against young women in society worse. As the discussion went on, it became clear that this was more than just a dispute between two rappers. It was a larger social issue about the rights of adult children and the evolution of parenting in the social media age. The Harris family found itself in the midst of an unmanageable storm. Because of 50 Cent's continual blogging, the story remained at the top of the news cycle, avoiding the usual fade-out that occurs with celebrity controversies and mandating a level of accountability that is unusual in the entertainment industry. Legal experts offered their opinions on the ramifications of the reported behavior after news outlets took up the issue. Supporters of the King of the South made an effort to refocus the conversation on the dangers of being a famous father and the need to take precautions against the exploitative methods of the industry. But these discussions were sometimes eclipsed by the volume of criticism that 50's wit generated. The back and forth caused a rift among hip-hop artists, with some remaining silent to avoid criticism, and others covertly like or sharing posts that favored one side. Deja's digital footprint became the main focus of the investigation as fans looked for any signs of difficulty or appeals for help in her earlier photos and descriptions. This led to a frenzy of amateur detective work on many platforms. A new facet of the narrative emerged every hour, revealing a complex web of social expectations, familial loyalty, and the struggle for one's individuality in the shadow of a well-known father. The plot was developing at a rapid pace, because he was able to stay relevant and amusing while drawing attention to a problem that many felt had been ignored for far too long. 50 Cent's role as the provocateur was working perfectly. The issue was starting to affect public appearances and business dealings. So it was clear that a simple apology or a family photo opportunity would not be enough to satisfy the millions of people who were now curious about the outcome of this play. Experts in family psychology began leaving comments on the well-liked videos, analyzing the body language in previous reality show scenes when the father-daughter animosity was visible in hindsight. Given this retrospective analysis of the Harris family dynamic, it was more difficult for T to dismiss the current claims as media fabrications or the family's digital imprint was being scrubbed and analyzed by thousands of others at the same time, creating a collective memory of all their errors and unpleasant public moments. 50 Cent took advantage of this collective effort by replicating the most damaging videos with well-liked subtitles, ensuring that the conversation never strayed too far from his initial objective. Even if it had a big influence on his personal engagement, the Gannett mogul stated that he was only interested in the entertainment value of seeing a self-proclaimed king fight to maintain order in his own castle. An already precarious situation was made worse by the growing pressure on T's other children to speak up or take a stance as public opinion continued to shift against him. Further speculation about whether the Harris family was only trying to weather the storm in secret, or whether there were internal gag orders, was prompted by the deafening silence from the rest of the home. Every new development was met with an onslaught of memes and TikTok breakdowns that simplified the complex family issues into readily shared content, further simplifying the real lived experience of those impacted. 50 Cent remained the center of attention during this hurricane, acting as both the lightning rod and the broadcaster, proving once more that his mastery of social media is maybe his most potent weapon in any conflict. In front of the world, a public persona that had been painstakingly developed over 2 decades fell apart, and the speed at which it was happening was a sobering reminder of how vulnerable celebrities can be to the unchecked power of the internet, and the emergence of someone who knows exactly where to strike. As we move into the next phase of this debate, the focus is shifting from what was said to what will be done, as the social and legal repercussions of the allegations begin to manifest in real time. There is no room for error or miscalculation on the part of anyone involved. As the financial and social stakes increased, the industry eagerly expected a direct response from T that may refute 50 Cent's critical remarks and clear his name. However, Harris's silence just confirmed the skeptics and gave him more content for his daily barrage of social media tweets. The scenario drastically changed when both sides' close friends began to express their viewpoints. Some said that this family issue was the perfect pretext for a long-awaited confrontation between the two rappers, who had been at enmity for years. This revelation added a personal grudge element to the events, suggesting that 50 Cent was attempting to make apologies with a rival, who he felt had always been extremely self-righteous. In addition to defending Deja, the public's curiosity grew as the possibility of a face-to-face meeting or a lyrical interchange started to be debated in music circles. Even if most people believed that the battle was being fought and won in the digital arena, T.I.'s reputation as a thinking, eloquent leader was being tested like never before. A generation that prioritizes openness and individual liberty was mocking and skeptical of his usual long-winded justifications. It was hard for even his most ardent followers to ignore the contrast between his polished public image and the honest claims resulting from the situation. 50 Cent used this by highlighting the contradictions in T's previous remarks, pointing to times when the rapper had advocated freedoms and rights that he was now accused of denying his own daughter. By deliberately exploiting the rapper's own words against him, 50 Cent showed that he could damage an opponent's reputation without ever having to record a diss track. This was a traditional 50 Cent strategy. As the story reached its culmination, focus shifted to how this would ultimately impact the Harris family dynamic and whether a reunion was actually possible. Given the level of public humiliation involved, everyone wondered if this would be the crucial moment that irrevocably changed the Southern King's legacy. As the world watched as the hustling and family empires' once unbreakable foundation seemed to crack under the pressure of scrutiny. Even though the jokes were over, 50 Cent's closing comments on the matter suggested that the lessons learned from this incident would endure for years to come and serve as a cautionary tale to anyone who thinks their private life can remain truly private when everyone is watching and judging them all the time. The Harris family's and the Gannett leader's narrative demonstrates how social media can swiftly alter people's reputations, leaving a trail of viral moments and unresolved concerns that will be spoken about long after the news has shifted to the next big topic. This situation illustrates how celebrity culture is evolving. with stars' private lives no longer being off limits but rather being a part of the greater narrative that defines their professions and audience relationship. Beyond the amusing blogs, the fallout has prompted educators and social workers to have thoughtful discussions on the boundaries of parental authority in stressful circumstances. As the digital dust settles, it is clear that T will have a challenging path ahead of him if he is to regain the trust of the public and, more importantly, repair his connection with his daughter, which has been tested in such a public manner. Meanwhile, 50 Cent has once again proven that he is the undeniable master of the viral moment. He can steer the conversation in any direction with just a few well-placed posts and a sharp sense of humor. This controversy will have a long-lasting impact and serve as a reminder that, in the age of the internet, every action is scrutinized and every voice can be heard worldwide. Many fans have provided words of support and encouragement as Deja continues, and fans are now closely monitoring her social media accounts for any signs of how she is managing the impact from this storm. This illustrates the complexity of the human experience as layers of celebrity, family, and individual freedom meet in a way that few could have predicted. The fundamental questions it raised about autonomy, privacy, and public responsibility will be looked at for years to come, even if the topic is no longer in the daily headlines. In the end, this was not just a celebrity scandal, it was a reflection of the times we live in and a mirror held up to the complicated connections that define each of us, regardless of our fame or social standing. The Harris family's next move will be watched by the entire world, and whether, in spite of the intense stress they have endured, they are able to heal and grow. Conversely, 50 Cent is ready to move on to the next victim, leaving a trail of altered narratives and memes behind. This reinforces his status as one of the most important and unpredictable figures in the history of modern media. The lessons discovered along the way will likely influence how future star families manage their private and public lives. It has been a swift and brutal journey from a domestic family conflict to a global media frenzy. We now have a greater understanding of how the digital world impacts our opinions and how important it is to maintain our sense of self in a society that is continuously watching and judging. If you found this in-depth examination of the Harris family conflict unsettling, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel for more explosive updates on your favorite hip-hop icons. In the space provided for comments below, kindly express your opinions. Do you think T's parenting approach has finally become excessive? Or is 50 Cent just stirring up controversy, which is his speciality, in order to gain views? To ensure that you never miss an